Thank you. Okay, Wellfleet Zoom, you can start. And I can call the case, but we are going to try to
thank you.
get a hold of. Okay, this is the Wellfleet Zoning Board of Appeals for Thursday, September 22nd. And the case is 2216 Fellows Preservation of Affordable Housing, 95 Lawrence Road, map 13, parcel 2, application for comprehensive permit under Massachusetts General Law 40B S 2023, development of 46 affordable units consisting of a lower village building consisting of 22 1 and 2 bedroom flats and an upper village with 24 1, 2 and 3 bedroom townhouses. And the board for this, assuming that Manny does arrive.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chairperson, I just spoke to him. He's logging in right now.
Okay, perfect. The board for this is myself, Trevor, Will, Manny, and Mick. That's right, right? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, good. And I did want to ask the applicant if you have anything further you want to say, Mr. Colburn, or anyone from POA?
I'll just go ahead and I think turn it over to Andrew Singer and Vita to lead the discussion today.
Okay, very good. All right.
Vita is joining us now.
Vita is joining us now. Okay,
Great.
very good. Mhm. All right. Well, while she's doing that, let me say that I did want to acknowledge for the record that we did get a letter of support from the Piping Plover. I'm not going to read it, but in support of the idea. And we also got a petition that was from the, I'm not sure where the, let's see. Anyway, a petition which is signed by a number of business owners in Wellfleet, including Maurice's Market Hatches, the Wellfleet Chicken Coop Farm, Sea and Soil Design, DHS Cape Shoes, AIM the Thrift Shop, Wellfleet Spirits Shop, Laxmi, Such a Much, Upfront, Off Center, and the Wellfleet Crafts petition in support of this proposal. We also have a letter from the Cape Cod Commission. I don't know if you want to go into further detail with that from that perspective, Vita, but we do have it if you want me to do more about that. So, Vita, would you like to begin?
Unmute.
She's on mute, yes, and on camera. Yeah.
Madam Chair.
This is Corey.
Oh,
Sorry,
ahead, Corey.
I'm Corey Fellows from Preservation of Affordable Housing, a colleague of haven't had an opportunity to speak, and teams are doing a great job. I think she must be having internet issues.
Oh, no, baby issues, actually.
Hi, sorry.
No worries.
I'm on baby duty apparently, so
That's right. Okay.
Okay.
thought you'd lighten the mood anyway.
All right. I filibustered for you, Vita.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's
What were
right.
you talking about? The weather? The beautiful sunset?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. It's all yours.
Thanks. Hi everyone. So I think this is meeting 6 or maybe 5 if you counted August 4th or not. Thank you again for your generosity. I think I'm going to just turn this over to our legal team if you don't mind. And Jay, yes, in the mouth. If you wouldn't mind. I think where we left off at the last meeting was we were talking through the zoning waivers. And I think we since then have revised the list of zoning waivers, meaning that a lot of them don't apply anymore because of our most recent site plan. And then what I know is that Carolyn and Andrew, sorry. Carolyn and Andrew were working on the draft decision for the comprehensive permit this past week through up to today. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to turn this over to Jay. Is that okay with you?
I can jump in. Jay had turned it to you, Vita. So
yeah, I think we're ready for Andrew. So
what we did after the last meeting with the board's direction, I did prepare a draft decision based on a model that Carolyn, town council, had sent to me. I did incorporate the revised waivers as we went over last session. So what's in the draft that you have are the ones that we discussed that were needed. Everything that wasn't needed is gone. So it's not in the draft. We have had some very good back and forth with Carolyn and town staff regarding the decision. And I know Carolyn will probably take you through the draft. There were some questions on the sides that some have been answered, some haven't. Jan, you mentioned earlier that you had some questions. So I'm sure as we go through the draft, we can, we don't have to necessarily go line by line, but however Carolyn wants to do it, but we can try to address all those questions. I don't know, Carolyn, if that would be done after the public hearing is closed and we would just be responding to that. I leave that up to you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I think the plan was that we'll see if there's any other public comment to come in. And if there is nothing else, I think the plan was to close the public hearing and start going through the decision.
And all I would add, the chair, Sharon, you had mentioned already, but incorporating into, we could incorporate it into the draft, the letter of support that you received, the petition of support that you mentioned, and the Cape Cod Commission letter, and whatever might come in tonight. But those three can certainly be added to the decision.
Right, right. And I think the board has all had a chance to see the Cape Cod Commission letter, but basically they supported the idea of housing, of course, felt that the transportation was adequate, that the water resources were adequate, that the proposal preserved natural space and open space, and that it was congruent with the community and cultural heritage. And therefore, based on the application materials, Commission staff conclude that the proposed project is generally consistent with the regional planning goals and objectives as set forth in the Cape Cod Commission Act and RPP. Project is sensitive to local context and designed to protect and enhance natural and community resources. Importantly, the project addresses the urgent and growing need for affordable housing in both the town of Wellfleet and the broader Cape Cod region. So they are in support. Is there any other public comment? Ms. McElroy has her hand up.
Hi, thank you so much, everyone. I'm sure amongst the letters you didn't mention are the letters from the Housing Authority, the Local Housing Partnership, and the Wellfleet Affordable Housing Trust.
Just so you know, we did that last time.
I thought I was at every meeting.
No, we made a whole list, but okay.
Yes, but I just, on top of that, I just wanted to say that in choosing POA, we really felt like we found the right match for Wellfleet. And in their proposal, they talked about this was the start of a conversation. I mean, we had talked so much about it up to that point, but we knew that every single aspect wasn't quite pinned down the way we wanted it. And from your process and POA CDP working with you, I really felt like the conversation happened that improved the project. And as former chair of the 95 Lawrence Road Task Force, I just want to say how proud I am of Wellfleet, and how I feel we are so lucky to have this partnership. And I really hope that we'll work through it tonight and be ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. My question is directed at Elaine. A couple of people in the community have asked about the application process. And also, I know we have some vulnerable members in the community that we need to have an advocate in the town to help them fill out the forms. And do we have an avenue for that to help the vulnerable people, or people who are afraid of computers, and some people who are younger and are just generally afraid of forms? And I think we really need to make sure we get these people signed up for the affordable housing. So that's my question. Thank you.
Elaine, do you have an answer for that one?
Well, one of the reasons we picked POA is because they have such an incredible outreach program and support for people, but I appreciate your bringing this up now. Throughout the process, we will work to offer whatever support we can, but POA has such an incredible reputation for working with the community that comes together to do this. So I don't want to speak for them, but we will be their partner in assisting people as needed.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, Elaine. Does anyone from POA want to speak to that part of the process?
Maybe
Peter.
Corey can help a little bit, but I'll start by saying that we have, as you may already know, an internal management company who will be managing the daily operations here at the site. If you may remember, we have an office dedicated for the property manager at the Lower Village. And then in partnership with CDP, with Jay's organization, we'll be reaching out to the community to kind of manage the lottery process for the apartments. And we do this elsewhere on the Cape, as I may have mentioned earlier. We have a number of other properties that we already own and manage up and down the Lower and Outer Cape. Maybe Corey can speak to like earlier leasing experience that we have elsewhere.
Sure. Yeah, and I would echo what Vita said about working in collaboration with Jay and his team at CDP to make sure that we have a good local presence, continued local presence early on. I think it's also been mentioned before that there will also be the opportunity for the town to request local preference as part of that process, which would be sort of one tier of that. And we will have a much better idea about the timeline for the project, for the actual construction timeline, once we have, if we are fortunate enough to get approval this evening or sometime soon. We will be submitting our application to the state for the critical financing that we need to actually fund this. And we would hope that we would get good news on that by the spring of 2023, and then look to have a financial closing and start construction by late in the year. So if you sort of play that out, we're looking at, as I think has probably been discussed before, we're looking at sometime in maybe late 2024, early 25 for completion and actual lease up. So we will continue to communicate with the town and with our local partners. It sometimes does get a little bit tricky sort of managing the expectations around timing, and we know there's a lot of pent up demand, but we'll be very transparent, and we'll make sure that we're communicating about all of that.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Nick?
Yeah, to a certain extent. My question is really for the people that I personally know in the town that I would consider vulnerable in various ways. Do we have somebody in the town that I know of, half a dozen of these folks that I've reached out to, and they're very afraid of the process, and that's understandable. Do we have somebody in town that could be an advocate for these folks so that they can have a conversation with them and help them through the process? Because some people are genuinely, they really want affordable housing, but they're very anxious about the process.
Elaine, would that be something that the Housing Authority would do?
The Housing Authority and me myself have done that for many people over the years. But in the past 2 or 3 years, we have partnered with the Community Development Partnership for part-time housing specialist services. And a wonderful woman, Pelinda, at the CDP, works on our behalf and is just the perfect person for people to connect with. But I'm happy to do that myself. And I think, you're pointing this out is a really important part of the process going forward. But I have Pelinda has been incredibly helpful to people that have contacted us in terms of need and finding what's right for them. She's spent incredible amount of time with them, helped them fill out the forms. She's a wonderful person, and we're really grateful to have her as part of our team.
Thank you, Elaine. That's exactly the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Great. Okay. Is there any other public comment? Do not see any hands. With that, then I would like a motion to close the public hearing.
I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I need a second.
Second.
Many seconds, all in favor. And I'm going to pull the whole board on this because we'll all be in the discussion. Mick,
Aye.
Jan,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
Will.
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Trevor.
Aye.
And Sharon, aye. Okay, so Ms. Murray, lead us on.
Okay. I believe, Madam Chair, that I think it was Saturday that a draft of the decision was emailed to all of the board members, and hopefully you've received it if you haven't had a chance to review it. I don't know, Chris, are you able to put that up on the screen?
I've never put anything on the screen yet.
Actually, I might be able to.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can figure out how to do that.
I mean, if not, if everyone's got
I
a
think
hard
I
copy.
probably can. So let me just, because I just pulled it up on my screen not too long ago. I just have to make sure I don't pull up the wrong findings. As I used to say to students when I was looking for something, talk among yourselves.
It stopped raining.
There
How's
you
that
go.
conversation?
Excellent.
Yes, the sunset was just fantastic. That's why I was late, because I was so enamored with it.
I know it's a KP law. Ah, there it is. It's not that one. There. I found it.
Right.
There it is.
Awesome.
Yay, fantastic.
All right, we're going to admit this other person while we're at it. Okay. All right.
All right. So, Madam Chair, do you want to just go through it section by section? And if anyone has
Yeah,
any questions, we can
sounds like
stop. Okay. All
Sounds
right.
like a plan. Yeah. We obviously don't need the
So
opening. I don't think anybody's going to be questions about the date of the public hearings and so forth. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
If there's anything that anyone saw that was wrong or needed to be added, we'll certainly go back and address it. But really, the heading in the whole first paragraph is just opening information.
Yeah. Right.
Heading into section 2, the factual background.
Yeah, that's where we may. Okay. All right.
And, we obviously have, this is obviously heavily linked to the land disposition agreement. And I recognize that members of the zoning board may not be aware of the land disposition agreement, but following the RFP that Elaine was talking about earlier, the select board and the developer are negotiating a land development agreement that addresses things beyond just the affordable component. But it also does mention affordability more so at deeper rates, as you know, than a traditional 40B would typically have. So you will see references in here to the land development agreement. I think as we scroll on down, the first real comment in the margins is when we get to parking. And I know that at the September 8th meeting following the developers meeting with the planning board, That's when we saw revised plans showing 69 parking spaces. I just wanted to confirm that it also includes 4 ADA compliant spaces.
That
2 at each
correct,
village.
Is that correct, Andrew? Mr. Singer?
This is Andrew.
Yeah.
I don't have the plan right in front of me. Everything that's on here, I believe, is accurate.
Mhm.
Corey or Vita, I'm gonna pull out the copy I have, but if Corey or Vita want to jump in, please do.
Mhm.
I need 1 minute to pull it up, so please
Okay.
just give me a second.
Mhm.
I'm looking as
Okay.
well.
Mhm. Mhm.
While Vita looked at the parking table that I have does underneath Carolyn say, including 4 accessible stalls in parentheses.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And if I remember, Andrew, there were 2 at the upper village and 2 at the lower village.
That I believe you're right, but I would defer to Vita just to make sure.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
while
it's
we're-
4. It's 2 at
Excellent.
the upper and 2 at the lower.
Great, that's what I
Confirmed.
thought. Okay,
Yes.
thank you,
Okay,
Vita.
So 4 is
All right.
right. Yep, you're welcome.
Okay. Mhm.
All right, so if we scroll, so moving on then to the next paragraph, which is really all about the affordability. The language that you see in here is a little different from your traditional 40Bs where we would just have, total unit count and we would say 25% and whether they were rental or home ownership. This language that you see here is mirroring the language that's in the land development agreement. Where 75% are intended to go to those earning no more than 60% AMI. And then we also talked about the community rental units, which would be those that would be up to 120% AMI. Those are not considered affordable units for purposes of affordable housing subject to a deed restriction. But obviously, because we've got more than 25% of the units dedicated or deed restricted as affordable, all 46 of these units are going to count towards the town subsidized housing inventory.
Okay.
So I did add that today in my draft, just a sentence making it clear that all 46 units qualify for the SHI, because I think that's obviously an important goal for the town. And I'll pause there for a moment just in case anyone has any questions about that. Because like I said, it's not our traditional 25% language.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone
Jan, you had a question about that?
Yeah, I typed out questions and I'm not looking at the copy that Carolyn sent to us initially.
Mhm.
You had asked somewhere, I thought it was here, about the 8 units for 30% AMI or less. Is that
Yes.
going to still be included?
It's not specifically spelled out here in the land development agreement, but what we do say 75% of the units shall be rented to those earning no more than 60% AMI. So that gives us 35 units total. And of those 35 units, those that would also be at the 30% AMI would obviously be, no more than the 60% AMI. So they're included in that 75% figure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else?
No one else?
Mhm.
Okay.
In the procedural history,
Yep.
if I am correct, the second sentence in the first paragraph has no verb. POA on several occasions with the following bodies.
Well, that's tricky, isn't it? I think that would be POA Met.
I thought so, but you know, I did think that was a bit odd.
Thank
We just wanted to make sure that you guys actually read the decision.
I
so we
wanted
left
to
it out on
prove that
purpose.
I had and that I'm
Yeah.
an English teacher. Yes.
Thank you
okay.
for that.
You're welcome. Okay.
And then I will now revise that last sentence since you have now closed the public hearing.
Yep, right.
I will make sure that is captured there.
Mhm.
Anyone have anything else on the procedural history?
No.
Great, thank you. All right, so then we move on to submittals.
Mhm.
And obviously the whole first part is were the components of the application.
Right. This might be a
And then-
good time to point out that what Chris has asked for, Vita, is if you folks could give her 2 copies of the final proposal. She's got it all in dribs and drabs, but there would be good to have one package that she and both the building inspector could keep on file. So if somebody could collate and finally put it all together for one, that would be a help.
May I ask what you want in one packet?
Chris,
Exactly.
do
Do you want
wanna-
like everything that we've ever given you guys to the ZBA for? all
Well,
of
the
our
ones that
hearings?
are note that you've changed. See, the problem is we've had changes. So what we want is really the final. We've had,
Gail,
like,
what do you think?
know,
I
additional
may-
parking and additional, you know,
sure.
that kind of thing. So it's just like, you know, it'd be
What if
nice
we
to have
gave you
a
the most
plan of
recent-
record.
Sorry,
Yeah.
could we just give you the most recent, just full set of drawings that includes architectural, civil, everything else that we have, and it could be part of the comp permit? Does that?
Yeah, I think that would work.
that-
Chris,
would
does that work?
I don't know, Carolyn, what works, or Andrew.
Mhm.
Yes, I believe that'll work.
That'll work. Okay.
I'll take the original request and then
Mhm.
if everything's in order with the additional site plans, blah, 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 and put it in order like that. As it's
Now that
presented
I'm
to
saying,
me.
hold on, now that I'm saying that, I'm thinking, they're fairly technical drawings. So we could either do that, or we could provide you the most recent set of plans that you actually did see, which was from September 2nd,
Mhm.
which were submitted to you for September 8th.
Hey, if I could jump in
I
here,
don't
if,
know.
Sure.
if what I think Chris is looking for, what I would suggest is if you look at A and B on this list, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we could make a packet of all of this with a big elastic around it, and the plans we put in will just be the final plans. Then
I
I
think-
think that's what Chris, you're asking for. You'll have one set in a pile of the packet. as listed in the
Exactly.
permit.
That's
Exactly.
exactly what I want.
Two,
And let me
two
ask-
of them.
Carolyn, if I can ask you a quick question regarding this, should the town clerk also have a final package? She's the keeper of the records.
She's the keeper of the records as opposed to you, Chris, for the ZBA.
Well, I keep the ZBA records, but she takes I'm just wondering if the town clerk should have a copy of this as well for just records for the town.
I would jump into just because if we give it also to the town clerk, it's going to be a very thick packet and she may not, they may not want that big a packet also in their file.
Oh, okay, all right, thank
She
you.
can come to you, Chris.
Okay.
I was going to say too, Chris, I mean, the town clerk's required to get the application and is required to get the decision.
Yes.
But I don't know of any town clerk that ever says, oh, and please give me all of the drawings that go with it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sadly, Chris, I think that's going in your file.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good.
But it's gonna come bound and beautiful for you. Okay, so
All right. That submittals.
yes, and we can ignore my comment off in the margins because I believe the dates, I believe that this now coincides with the dates of plans, as you had mentioned, Vita.
Okay.
I'm sorry, say that again. Oh, the civil engineering drawings, those were revised, yes, those were revised in the September 2nd submission.
Right.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not certain on what to provide for you because.
Vita,
on
I
one
can
hand-
coordinate with you.
Okay.
I understand what it is, so.
Okay,
knows?
we'll talk offline then. Okay, thanks. I'm done. Thanks.
So Andrew, maybe I could just ask you, are you satisfied then that everything in A and B is now complete? Recognizing that in section B, I have added and revised September 8th, 2022, because that was the last date where we saw any of these changes with respect to like parking or the civil engineering.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that is everything that came in from the applicant side.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Okay, and town comments. And then public comments. I know, Madam Chair, that you have been, like, as you did tonight, letting us know, like Piping Plover and some others have submitted letters of support. Do you want to list them all out under paragraph D as to those in favor, or just leave it as, we've received various comments in the record? I could even go so far as to say, I believe all I've heard have been in favor, none in opposition. We could say something
We have
like
had
that.
no opposition
Okay,
on any comments or in any, nor has there ever been anyone speaking in opposition in any of our meetings. So
That's
we can
not
certainly
so.
say that.
I think there was somebody that spoke negatively about it the first meeting.
Just about certain parts of the design, but not about the idea.
Okay, okay.
Didn't like the idea of them having a community garden. And we had someone who was worried about somebody peeking into his shower, but we had no one who said that the project was a bad idea.
Okay.
well, why don't I say with limited exceptions, all comments have been in favor. How's that?
Okay, yes, how about that? Yes.
And if I might suggest, Madam Chair, in
Yep.
C, since the Cape Cod Commission is
Yeah.
considered a town board. for
Yeah, I
purposes
think
of
that
40B,
should be
maybe
added, the Cape
add
Cod
that there.
Commission, yeah. And that one is dated September 15th.
Thank
Took
you.
them long enough, she said editorially.
Righty. Anyone
yes,
have anything else on that section?
And the local housing partnership isn't listed as a town department. I think the housing authority is the town department. The local housing partnership is.
Excuse me, Sharon?
Yeah. Mhm.
The housing authority is actually a state entity and the local housing partnership is a town committee.
Okay, so we can add local housing partnership as well onto that list of Cs.
And do we have the date of their letter?
I don't, but Chris probably does.
Okay, why don't I leave that blank for now and we
Yep.
can fill it in, okay?
Right. Okay.
All right.
And the Cape Cod
Anything
Commission.
else? Oh, yes, and I added the Cape Cod Commission, yes.
Yep. Okay.
Anything else under that section?
Don't think so. And yes, all comments were referenced in the minutes.
Yes, yep.
Mhm.
And so that then brings us to section 5, the findings of fact.
Cool. Mhm.
The first paragraph of what you have there
Mhm.
has been modified slightly.
Mhm.
You see the sentence in red that says, all 46 units will be designated as affordable. That was not correct. All 46 units will count towards the SHI, but you will have those certain number of units, the 11 units that could be at workforce. So I'm recommending we strike that sentence that says all 46 units will be designated as affordable, and instead inserting that the affordable units shall be as stated in the land development agreement referenced herein, and the board finds that consistent with general law chapter 40B, at least 25% of the units shall be designated as affordable and subject to an affordable housing deed restriction.
Okay.
That sound okay to folks? If anyone wants me to reread that, I'm happy to do that.
Carolyn, I have one suggestion.
Yeah.
This is Andrew. I think we should remove the word deed restriction, since this is going to be a leased property. It should just be affordable housing restriction.
That's a good point. Thank you. I'll have to go back and pick up any deeds that I threw in along the way. Okay.
Do an overall search for deed. Yeah. Okay. Mhm.
Okay. So moving through the findings of fact,
Mhm.
the next one that I had some changes on was C. This was really just to clarify the total site is 9.26 acres,
Mhm.
6 of which are going to be leased on a long-term basis to POA. Yes.
I'm not completely certain because we haven't, I don't think that our civil engineer has completed that survey of the
Right.
Gomez area. They have a drawing that looks like it, but it's not like 100% complete.
Then what I'm
So
going
I
to
think it'll
say-
be something up to or less than 6 acres, 6 or
Mhm.
less.
Or
Then
approximately.
what I'm
Or
going to suggest is
approximately,
no
yes,
more.
exactly.
Sorry, Vita. I'm going to suggest them
Approximate is
say no more than 6 acres, because that's what the town meeting vote actually said, was that no more than 6 acres could be
Okay.
leased.
That's simple. Mhm. Mhm.
And then obviously we have single family houses to the north and east of the site, if I got my directions correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. And scrolling through the findings, I had a minor change on paragraph I, just to insert that that they will be supplementing, the landscaping as shown on the landscaping plans.
All right. And Jan has a question.
I have a question on F.
F, okay.
Yeah, one is just a proofreading thing because Sharon and I are always doing things. The first thing is you referenced the Wellfleet Board of Selectmen, and earlier you changed.
Select board, you're
Yeah.
right. Did
Yeah.
catch that?
Mhm.
The
Thank you.
second thing is that there's a reference to the Affordable Housing Committee, but we don't have an Affordable Housing Committee. We have a local housing partnership and we have a housing authority, but we don't have an Affordable Housing Committee.
I'm assuming here that we want to say the Affordable Housing Authority, and is it also the local housing partnership, or what?
Yeah.
What should we?
Yeah, maybe Elaine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who has the applicant met with?
Thank you, Jan. I meant to bring that up earlier. We don't have anything called an Affordable Housing Committee. We have a Wellfleet Housing Authority, a local housing partnership, and the Wellfleet Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So Elaine, if I could ask, do you know of those 3 entities, which ones did the applicant meet with? Or maybe Andrew Vita? I'm not trying to trip anybody up. I just want to get the right one.
Sure.
Yeah.
I believe that we, at a minimum, met with the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
With Elaine, it was in April, if not again before
Mhm.
then.
I'm on the
think Cory-
housing, I'm the rep on the housing partnership, and there was no formal meeting with us.
Right.
Okay.
And I doubt that there would have been a meeting with the Housing Authority, right?
Okay,
But there was also the task force charged with this. I don't know if they need to be
The 95 Lawrence Task Force.
the 95 Lawrence Road Task Force.
I'll add them.
I would also just add, if I could, that we at the same meeting that included Public Works, Police and Fire was the building inspector,
Yes.
building department.
Oh, the building
and the
department, yeah.
and the building inspector.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
And the town administrator, or the assistant town administrator, Rebecca, we've met with her.
Assistant town administrator. And the health department, wasn't there?
I don't remember if. health
Maybe
was
not,
there.
maybe
I
not.
don't think
yeah, maybe
I don't
not.
think they were.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay, we'll add all of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is that everything? Is that everything on F, Jan, or did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anyone have anything on G, H, or I,
I do not.
or J? and
Oh,
K?
H. I did have a question about H.
Okay,
I don't, is that an abandoned classroom building? In my lifetime, it was an abandoned COA building. But once
Are you
upon a
talking
time,
about the vault?
where the lower village is going,
mhm.
there's
I
a
think
building
Gail
there.
knows what it is. But I think it's like an Eversource. Oh, sorry, Elaine.
Yeah,
It-
go ahead, Elaine.
It
Was that ever a classroom building?
Yes, it was. It was.
Okay.
A preschool.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
there you go.
Oh, okay.
It shared it
what
with
do
COA for many years.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can
Awesome.
call it an abandoned classroom then.
Do you want me to say an abandoned classroom set / council on aging building so that folks
Know what it
know what it
is?
is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it might be a good idea. Kathleen had a
Okay.
question. I can let her speak that, I guess. Kathleen, we're not doing public hearing, but you can.
No, I don't have a
You wanna-
question. It was a Head Start classroom for a number of years.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Um,
that's right. It was a
I-
Head Start classroom.
I think you could classify it as just a community building
Yeah.
without specifying it was a
Mhm.
COA or a classroom. Just
Yeah.
specify it was a community building.
Yeah, that probably
It's
works.
been
Yeah,
unused.
yeah, an
Thank you, Shan.
abandoned community building. Yeah. Okay, all right, good. All right, that was my
Right.
only thing.
okay. So moving on to I, J, or K.
IJ, okay. Okay.
L. And just to make sure to either through Andrew or Vita, the on-site management, the hours that we've got is Monday through Friday, 8 AM to 5 PM. And a year-round 24/7 contact person is available for public safety or maintenance issues. I assume that language is fine with you folks.
Fine.
Yes, I'm seeing nodding.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. How about paragraph M? Or N or O?
Can you scroll up to M?
Yeah,
please?
yeah. Mhm.
Mary. We are aiming to achieve passive house. If I may thread this needle, we're definitely having a goal. We have a goal of completely certifying for passive house.
Mhm.
Can we make it something like with a goal of or target of creating airtight passive house certified buildings?
I think so.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else on M, N, or O? Okay. Okay, so then scrolling down to paragraph P, again, that's the affordability language that's in the land development agreement. So will be consistent throughout.
Not a single deed in that paragraph, by the way, you say.
Thank you. I was I can search for deeds later.
That's right. Yeah, not a one there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, paragraph Q. Paragraph R, I did add in here as a second sentence.
Mhm.
Again, because this is a rental development with at least 25% of the units subject to an affordable housing restriction, take
Mhm.
out deed, all 46 units of the units in the new development will count towards the town's inventory.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Good. Mhm.
Quick question. If they all count, is that 46% at the end, that total, is that correct?
4.6.
I'm 4.6.
40.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Dream on, Jan. Yeah.
It'll be
Very small
46.
on my screen.
Yeah, it's 46 units, but I think it's gonna be
4.6, yes. Is that
Okay.
correct? Correct percentage if they all count?
Mhm. I don't know.
Is someone
I
checking
didn't
math?
actually do the math, because I think you're at 2.5, or I've heard 2.8. But it probably is the right. I mean, if
Okay.
we're concerned about the percentage, we can certainly just, the proposal will clearly raise the town's total.
Mhm.
It, whether it's 4.6% or something else, I mean, we can always take
Mhm.
that out if that's a
Right.
concern.
Right. Right. Mhm.
Anyone feel strongly about taking it out or leaving it in?
I would take it out unless we know that 4.6%
Right.
Okay.
is spot on.
Mhm. And since that's always a fluctuating number,
Right.
no.
Okay.
Well, would it make sense to maybe just say the proposal will raise the town's total under the SHI? Just don't have a
Right.
number, but do reflect that it's an increase.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
we should definitely say it's increased, but just don't specify a number.
Okay, I've done that.
Okay. Cool.
Anything else in paragraph R?
I think the math turns out to be 5.2% if the latest SHI is, but let's just leave it arbitrary and
Right.
uncommitted,
We
unspoken.
can be
Okay.
pleasantly
Yeah.
surprised.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so moving on, paragraph S. We do not have a certified housing production plan.
Nope.
T just goes through, we haven't asserted that the town's at any statutory minima. That would be like the 10% affordable
Oh,
housing.
yeah.
Or
No.
0.5% general land area. We aren't asserting any of those things.
Nope.
Carolyn, what does
Um,
safe harbor mean?
I'm sorry?
What does safe harbor?
What
What's
does
that?
safe harbor mean? So there are a couple of safe harbors that are available to the town when we meet certain goals. So for example, if we can get 10% of our housing stock to be dedicated as affordable housing, that's a safe harbor. If we ever reach the point where 1.5% of the town's general land area is also dedicated to low or moderate, affordable income housing, that's another safe harbor. If we prepare a housing production plan and have that certified by DHCD, we would build into it certain goals. And if, depending upon what our goals are, if we add so many affordable units, we would get a 1-year safe harbor. If we add so many units, we could be eligible for a 2-year safe harbor. And what that term safe harbor basically means is that the town has some protection against a future 40B application coming in. So we could so for example, if we were at the 10% and a 40B came in and we didn't like it, we didn't think it was the right place, or we thought it was just too big, or whatever the issues were, we would have a right, because we have a safe harbor, to deny that 40B application, and the applicant cannot appeal that denial.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so paragraph U and V. Any questions on those? Or W? Or X?
Can you scroll up, Sharon, so we
Yeah,
can see?
that's not on
Sure.
my screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's X. Sorry.
And I'll pause here to see were there any other findings that anyone wanted to add.
Why, you wanted a Y and a Z?
I do feel like it's just kind of left there, yes.
I think we're good.
Okay, if not, I'll move on to conditions of approval. And
Mhm.
again, these were, as Andrew had said, this was a model decision I had given him. This is actually one that we used in the Habitat for Humanity project
Mhm.
on Old Kings Highway. So we weren't creating anything new here, but there may be some additional conditions that you'd like to add. Okay, so then I'll go into the administrative section.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Administrative? The first
Yes.
paragraph?
Is it administrative or is it?
No,
6?
administrative.
Administrative, okay.
Okay, the
Mhm.
last sentence says
Up
final as,
one.
yeah, final as-built plans, including building plans, shall be submitted to the building inspector prior to the issuance of the first building permit. How can an as-built plan be submitted before a building permit?
That is an excellent question, Jan. Thank you.
Something's not right there. And I don't know what you're trying to say, but somehow we have to fix that one.
Yeah, that should be prior to the issuance of the final certificate of occupancy.
Oh,
Yeah,
was
it's
gonna
the
say.
Yeah.
certificate of occupancy, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
I do think that later on in the decision, we talk about, plans being submitted to the building commissioner prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Yes.
Mhm. Right.
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Anything in paragraph 2? Moving on to paragraph 3. Paragraph 3 is really just a recitation of what the process is under the regulations for any kind of a minor, or what they call a substantial versus an insubstantial modification.
Yeah, we did a couple of these on Gull Pond Road.
Yep.
Where we had to come in and change from ownership to rental and things like that.
Anything on paragraph 4? Then paragraph 5,
Mhm.
again, this is language that we carried over, I think, from the habitat permit that,
Mhm.
unless substantial construction of the project has commenced, as evidenced by the issuance of a building permit, the comprehensive permit shall expire 3 years from the date of decision. We are allowed to go for a longer period of time. I don't know if the board has a feeling one way or the other as to whether they think 3 years is adequate. I would, based on what we were hearing from Mr. Fellows earlier, we certainly expect that a building permit is going to be pulled within 3 years.
Mhm.
I just have a question for anyone, I guess, is what would be the downside from increasing it from 3 to 5?
Right.
Oh,
Because given the economics of what we're going through, I'm
Mhm.
certainly not comfortable
Mhm.
whether it's going to be a rocky road for years ahead or not. But if there's no negative reason, I personally like to see it 5.
Jan?
well, two things. First one would be, one of my concerns would be, are you allowing, no, I'm not saying POA would do this, but are you allowing them? We'd like to get this built as soon as possible. So
Hmm.
by putting in 5 years, are you sort of allowing them to not start building this soon? The second question would be, if we leave it at 3 years and something happens, can they come back to the zoning board and ask for an extension?
Yes, they can.
If that's the case, then I think it should be 3 years, unless extended by the ZBA, which it retains the right to do, or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
However you want the wording. to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That
to me.
language is in there already. The second
Mhm.
sentence of that paragraph does provide for the process for asking for an extension.
Okay, any request for an extension shall be made in writing no less than 30 days. Okay, yeah.
All right, that's
I
fine.
mean, if you get into a lawsuit, then you end up having to ask for an extension too. But I think the lawsuit changes the timing
It-
anyway, doesn't it, Carolyn?
It does. We exclude the time that it takes to adjudicate a lawsuit, but
Okay,
we're going to be optimistic here that there's not going to be any lawsuit.
I have post-traumatic stress on these things. But I will be
You and-
optimistic with you. Yes, go right ahead.
Ah,
All right, yes. So then
Okay.
let's leave it 3 and they can come back and that way
Yeah.
we keep it moving.
Makes
Mhm,
sense.
Okay.
mhm.
Paragraph 6, we have prior to the issuance of a building permit for the project, the applicant shall record this decision with the plans, and no building permits will be issued until this condition is satisfied.
Carolyn, this is Andrew. Could I ask a clarification question? I
Sure.
just realized we said recording the decision with the plans itemized herein. We don't usually record the plans. We just record the decision which references the plans.
Okay. Okay, I'll strike that. Okay, so I think that addresses your comment in the margins too, Andrew.
It did, thank you.
Okay, good. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to paragraph 7.
Mhm.
Again, that's all coming right out of the regulations governing 40Bs. So then we get to paragraph 8, and this was something that Andrew asked a question on. We have the applicant shall promptly pay the reasonable fees of the board's consultants for post-permit reviews of the plans or documents described herein. Sometimes, but not always, when we finally get the construction grade plans, sometimes, for example, the civil engineering plans showing the stormwater systems might be sent out to an engineering firm for them to perform the peer review. And then other things are reviewed internally by the building commissioner. I don't know what the board's practice has really been as of late on that.
The only time I can think of needing additional consultants is when we ended up with the habitat one with the stormwater. But I'm not aware of anything for Gull Pond or Payne Hollow. Maybe somebody else has a better memory, but I'm not aware of other times when we've had that need.
So we
Should we
could
leave
do,
it there as a possibility?
Could leave it in as a possibility, yeah.
or I
I
could
mean-
even add in, if the board deems, that, an outside review is necessary. They should,
Right.
we could say that the board shall inform the applicant. Andrew, does that give you a level of comfort or still a concern?
I think I would just defer to Vita on that, just since they'll be the ones involved at that stage, not so much me. I just wanted to have I thought the discussion, having a discussion was helpful for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Which fees?
It's number 8 about the fees, Vita.
This will be-
That the applicant should pay reasonable fees of the board's consultants for post-permit reviews or inspections as may be deemed necessary or appropriate. That would be if we would need somebody other than the building inspector to do an inspection.
Is this like a third-party review?
Yeah, like a
Yes.
third-party
Yeah,
review.
yeah.
Okay, I don't see that this should be an issue.
Okay.
This is fine, yeah.
Okay, I was going to add in some language that says, if the board deems that review by an outside consultant is needed, the board shall inform the applicant and the applicant shall promptly pay the reasonable fees. So that it isn't locking us in to absolutely hiring an outside consultant.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, anything else on 8? Paragraph 9, we're requiring that the regulatory agreement and the affirmative fair marketing plan and monitoring agreement be submitted prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. Paragraph 9. And sorry, that was 9, 10, and 11, and 12. Any questions on those?
No, I didn't have any questions on those.
I always stop at 12 just to remind folks that, this is going to become a construction site. And while members of the ZBA, you certainly do have some oversight of this project. We shouldn't just be showing up at a construction site saying, hey, I'd like to see what's going on here today. We've got to be mindful that we shouldn't trespass and we should be safe about it.
That,
Okay.
I mean, obviously that's fine with me, but I'd be very shocked if this board caused you any problems during your construction process.
And Will, I'll just say this, that condition is in there because somewhere in another community.
I understand.
Somebody wanted to do this, yes.
Somebody pulled for
Yeah.
one day and it was a
Yeah,
problem.
I'm aware of those types of things.
Yes, the same reason you
Alright.
get told not to use your lawnmower to clip your hedge.
Or have kids eat your laundry detergent, yes. That's why it's not
Right.
recommended.
Exactly.
Ah,
Mhm.
Okay, so paragraph 13. And then I'll stop at paragraph 14 because this was language just about any sort of a surety that the board might require. Again, Andrew asked a question as to whether or not a surety would be required. I'll defer to the board, obviously, but I think that usually with a project like this, we would at least have a cost estimate done of like the road and infrastructure and require surety be set aside in the amount to cover, those aspects of the project. But again, that's entirely up to the board.
Yeah.
Sharon, have we ever imposed a surety requirement on any other applicant?
I'm trying to remember if we
I don't
have.
believe we did, Sharon.
No, I don't believe we did either.
This is new to me.
There are times when I think We should have.
Yeah. True.
Uh,
Would you like me to delete this then, or?
I don't know.
No, I don't know about that.
Sharon,
Yes.
Carolyn, could you explain a little bit more about the purpose of the surety? It's to make sure that the road actually gets built, or it gets built properly, or?
Both. It's to make sure that, that we don't wind up with a half-finished project, basically.
Right.
We obviously would not be building the units,
Right.
but, normally all of the drainage, the stormwater systems, and the road tend to be the first things that get built in the project. And we just want to make sure they get done and they get done right.
Mhm.
So that in the event that the developer goes bankrupt, walks away from the project for any reason, or sells the project to somebody else, and then the new developer comes along but doesn't bother, to complete the project, it gives us something, so that if we wanted to use those funds to complete the infrastructure, we could.
Because it was a common thing to do on the planning board for a subdivision, now it's on the
Right.
planning board.
Right.
So
Well,
how much money are you talking about?
I mean, normally, and a surety's got a value to it, so the applicant can know what they're looking forward to.
mhm,
So one is, there's no figure here, and how is
Right.
that figure?
mhm.
Can the town just impose a figure that they come up with? I have no idea.
Usually what I see done is either the building commissioner or the town engineer, or if you have a third party, engineering consultant, they will look at the final plans and come up with a cost estimate, to build this length of road with, however many inches of asphalt, and to put this infrastructure in. They estimate it, and then that becomes the amount of the surety.
And we would fill that in when, if we were to accept these findings.
If we could do a couple things. One, I've heard you say that we have not, or you can't recall any other projects that you've required a surety for.
No.
So
Although, as Jan says, the planning board has done so.
They do it through covenants.
Yeah.
They won't release a lot until
Mhm.
the roads are finished.
Yep.
Sharon, can I ask another question?
Yep.
It seems to me, once we rule on this application, hopefully tonight, we're out of the picture. So is it the surety to this board, or wouldn't it be to the town in general?
It would be to the town. It would be held by the town treasurer.
But it's just, I'm not sure it's appropriate for us to call the bond, as it's called.
You could, there is a process to do that. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it can be done. Because I'm certainly not suggesting that the ZBA is going to go out there and build the road. But it would be funds that we would use to pay somebody to do it. But one thing I do want to be careful about here is, we are not supposed to treat a comprehensive development differently from, say, a market rate development.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I hear Jan on the subdivision side of things, but if it hasn't been our practice with other market rate projects to require a bond, then I don't know that we're on firm ground requiring a bond here. Another option is we just leave this open for when the final plans are submitted, and ask the building commissioner and or a third party engineer to provide an estimate for the infrastructure. And at that time, that would become the amount of the bond.
Yeah, I would raise it because I view myself as very unqualified to determine whether or not a bond should be called.
Here's what's in the back of my head, and here's why I'm not sure what to do here, is that the land where Great White now stands was given over to a developer to become storage units. There was no surety. The developer dug a foundation and left the foundation, abandoned the project, and we had a foundation sit there for 10 years that we had no money to take down. And I don't want to repeat that experience. So I don't know, I mean, it may be a totally random comment, but that is when I look at surety, every time I drove by that thing, I thought, why was there no agreement as to what would happen if this project was abandoned?
Madam Chair, could I?
Yes. Mhm.
This is Andrew.
Yes.
What the planning board scenario that Jan was raising is absolutely correct. When you have a road, you created lots,
Mhm.
it's very typical through the covenant, or you do a bond in lieu of a covenant to have that protection. The reason I raised the question here is here, and normally I was going to say, normally this is on private property. In this case, it's on town property, but your example of the foundation, even with a surety, that wasn't a road. That was something that was on private property. Right. And so I don't think a surety would have been necessarily effective in that scenario. Okay. And I'm wondering here if that's the same case where a road's it's not a road in the typical subdivision sense. It's a very big driveway, that goes through the project. Right. So that's why I just wasn't sure how best to deal with it or not deal with it to the non-discrimination point that Carolyn raised.
Well, we certainly, I don't think, required it for Gull Pond or Payne Hollow when we gave those permits. Okay. So in that sense, Carolyn, I think you're right. This has not been board's past practice.
So with that, I take it we are deleting paragraph 14.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on then to the section on housing. Any questions on paragraphs 1, 2, or 3?
3.
Okay.
You have a typo on the third
Thank
line.
you.
Project will be connected. So
they'll be connected. Oh
delete
yeah, right.
one, be
Next
connected.
Connected. Okay.
That was my fault. Sorry.
That's right.
Okay.
Well done, John.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anything on paragraph 4 or 5?
4 is nice and quick.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
Just to note, again, all 46 units will be eligible to the SHI.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of that comment off there. Paragraph 6 or 7. Paragraph 8. Paragraph 9, this is kind of our belt and suspenders approach that, we did a town regulatory agreement just in case the subsidizing agency regulatory agreement goes away. But it only becomes effective, obviously, if the subsidizing agency goes away. Anything on paragraphs 11, 12 or 13?
Mm,
Okay. Then
To
that leaves,
plans.
yeah, that brings us to plans. And the proposal in paragraph 1 is, 30 to 60 days prior to the commencement of construction, the applicant shall submit final plans to the board to review and determine consistency with the comprehensive permit. Question here is, how much time do you really need? The other question I have is, and this varies a lot from town to town. In some communities, the building inspector is going to review the plans for consistency. In other communities, the board takes the position, this is our permit, this is our decision, we're going to review those plans. So I'll defer to you as to whether it should be the building inspector or whether the board wants to see the plans, and what you think at 30 or 60 days being the proper amount of time.
I think in the past for us, it has been the building inspector.
Yeah, I was
Being
gonna say
honest on this,
building.
guys.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would vote for the building inspector.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd give him more time rather than less.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Okay. 60 days then. All right.
Yeah, I'd give him the 60 days. I mean, I don't think there'd be a hardship with having final plans 60 days before you can have final plans. You have to get all your ducks in order to plan. So,
Right. Okay. Andrew, is that okay with you folks at 60 days prior?
I'll defer to Vita and the construction people.
I mean, if 60 days, I haven't built in Wellfleet before, so if 60 days is enough time for a usual development for the building inspector to review, then that's fine. Usually in Boston, we'll give them longer time, or like Cambridge or something, but
Well, this is in at least 60 days. You could do it for longer out if you want.
you could.
oh yeah, then that's fine.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Madam Chair, this is Gail.
Yep.
Stephen.
Yes, Gail.
I have no issue with the 60 days. I did just want people to know there's actually a statutory requirement to return a building permit in 30 days. I'm not saying these are met, these deadlines, but there is a statutory requirement across the state for a building department to turn around a set of drawings in 30 days.
I appreciate that, Gail, but we didn't link this to specifically the issuance of the building permit. And I know that some projects are a little bit more complicated than others, and I'm not sure where I'd put this one. But I think I'd rather err on the building inspector having a little bit more time than obviously say a single family house would take.
Absolutely.
Right.
And as I say, I have no problems with it, and it's not like we always get our permits in 30 days either, but yeah.
Okay. All right, so moving on to paragraph 2, and the final plans. I think what we've edited this down to is just that applicant shall provide the town with however many sets of full-sized or reduced-sized plans. Some communities have like a standard of how many they want. I wasn't certain what you might want.
What Chris was saying earlier was 2, but
2.
yeah, but
Is this
Chris-
in addition to paragraph 1 with providing it to the building commissioner?
I would not necessarily, Andrew. We can tweak that. Like I said, I've got some communities where they say they want 12 copies. I don't know who all 12 go to be honest with you, but if we only need 2 sets and one for the ZBA and one for the building inspector, then no, to your question, building inspector is going to get his under paragraph 1.
Need one for the
That's-
file. All of us are not going to go back and look over it again unless, you know, so
So
I'd
it's
like to
2
save a
total?
few more trees if we can.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
1 for the ZBA, 1 for the building inspector. Okay.
And a
Okay.
digital copy would be lovely. Mhm.
Do you want any reduced sets of plans?
Anybody want reduced sets of plans?
Not I.
No.
I'm not gonna look at them at that point.
No.
And me
Mm-mm.
either.
No, I don't think we are, so that there's no reason to kill those trees. You can go into the office and look at them.
Yeah, the building inspector and I would like full set,
Mhm.
a large
Right.
set. But
Full
other than
size.
that, yes, thank you.
Mhm. Full
Okay.
size. Yep. Mhm.
Okay. So again, I think that we're all set. We've addressed your comment about the plans, Andrew.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on to paragraph 3.
Mhm.
This is 30 days prior to start of construction. The applicant submits final construction plans to the extent that they are not part of the final plans described.
Mhm.
And again, we say the board may engage at the applicant's expense, third-party review. We're not committing to it. We're saying we may.
We may. There's a problem.
Then moving on to paragraph 4, we've got the as-built plans.
Yep.
And here's where I want to ask whether or not we want as-built plan. How many copies of the as-built plans, or who are the as-built plans going to? I imagine we certainly want 1 to the Board of Appeals, for the file.
Yes.
Does fire, building, and highway all need them? Or do they rely upon, say, the Board of Appeals and Building Department to get them?
I believe the fire.
I believe the fire department needs them, yeah.
Okay. How about highway?
Do we have a highway department?
DPW.
You got a
Or the
DPW.
DPW would probably, yeah, DPW would probably need them.
Department of Public Works, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then this is where we have the applicant shall provide these plans in digital format acceptable to the town and compatible with the GIS system.
Right.
This paragraph 5, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and say this is something that it gets repeated in an awful lot of my decisions, but I'll be the first one to say I am by no means somebody who considers himself to be savvy as to what all of these different types of digital formats happen to be, nor do I know which ones Wellfleet uses. Maybe that's just something we can just leave for the applicant to work out, with the building inspector.
Looks like this is boilerplate that covers any possible
Okay,
way of doing it, so
okay.
we don't know anything about that.
I know it's important for your GIS, being able to update that, so,
Yep.
okay.
Mhm.
All right, so if there's nothing else on the remainder of that section, move on to section D, construction.
Yep. Here's where.
Okay. Anything in paragraphs A or B? Well, paragraph A, B, I think you're going to want to do some discussion on.
Yep.
Okay, so paragraph B is the construction management schedule and the construction management plan.
Mhm.
Most of what you see there in red was my attempt to capture some of your concerns about construction and safety, particularly while the school is in session. But I welcome any further comments anyone might have, or maybe there's something I missed. Please let me know.
Through you, Sharon, if I may.
Yes, of course.
What I would like to see is during school times when the kids are dropped off and picked up, is that we have a police detail there, whether the construction company pays for it or not. But I definitely think we will have to have police there because of the proximity to a construction site.
And that is in that thing. Applicant should be responsible for police details on Lawrence Road.
Well, but it's if
Finding.
determined to be necessary by the chief of police.
Yeah, so
We could, we could require police details for
Yeah.
school drop off and pickup.
I would like to see that in the findings if it's not overreaching.
I agree.
I think that's
Right.
fine. I mean, it certainly protects the applicant from,
It does. It's an all-round protection for everybody, especially little boys that want to run onto construction sites.
Right.
Okay, so during school drop off and pickup times.
Right. I don't, I mean, during the school day, it's just, to minimize disturbance, but it's the drop off and pickup that's the
That's the only one. That's the
only dangerous
one.
time. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it protects everybody.
Yeah, I do too.
Do you want to leave it open as to whether there might be other times that the chief of police determines police details to be necessary? Okay.
Yeah. During drop up and pickup and at other times as the chief of police determines that that's necessary.
And I assume, well, okay, all right, well, they'll just have them provide the police details. They can figure that the police, I think, will be in the best position to decide where those details should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're there during pickup and drop off, that's the most important thing.
Right.
Okay. 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 Anything in paragraph C or D? Okay, moving on to paragraph 2. Anything in paragraphs A, B, C, or D? All right, then moving on to paragraph 3.
Here's where we have to deal with the times.
Yes.
What time does school start? What are the and what are the hours?
Manny, do you remember?
I know one of my grandkids is dropped off 7:45.
Yeah.
So maybe it's
So it
8
must
a.m.
Must be 8.
Yeah, probably 8. And I think the little ones are
I think about 1:30 or 2.
2, I think. Yeah.
You think they're done by 2?
I think so. Let me just see.
2 or 2:30, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lynn, what time is school over with? Here. Never mind.
You get yourself in trouble, man.
Through you, Sharon, if I may.
Yes.
I remember when we did.
I've got it, by the way, 7:45. If it'll only come up. 7:45 a.m. start. If it will only come up. 2. You can ask your question while I wait for Google to tell me.
When we did the last few affordable housing projects that I was a member on the board, I remember we had a big discussion about Saturdays
Right.
I remember we asked them we worked from 7 till noon on a Saturday. And I think that was to minimize the disruption to turnovers, people renting, because a large part of our economy is based on tourism. And I don't know if we need to revisit that here, because it says shall not commence on Saturdays before 8 a.m. and shall not continue beyond 6. I'm not sure if the board wants to look at that for a short day on Saturday or not, or if it's imposing a financial burden on the contractor.
Yeah, I myself would keep it from 8 to 6, man. I just think that's, it's a tough world out there. I'd hate to put too many conditions on the folks doing the construction.
If I may just interject, we typically have GCs who work kind of from sunrise to 3 or 4 or 5 p.m.
Yep.
Obviously respecting that this is a residential neighborhood and there's a school across the street. What I would recommend is that we are able to begin work at 7 a.m. and we could make an arrangement where loud things don't happen until after 8 and trucks don't idle, things like this.
Mhm.
And these things can be arranged. And again, like we mentioned in previous meetings, we'll have a construction management agreement that will be worked out with the police and fire departments before GCs start the work. Being mindful that, if we're limiting the hours of operation for the GC now, we're going to extend the time, and time is money, so it's going to be more expensive to complete and longer to complete the project.
And take longer.
Yeah. And Corey, want to say something?
No, I was just going to basically make that comment as a more general comment that, it's always a little bit of a balancing act because we want to be respectful of seasonal patterns, but we also don't want to have things stretch out longer and extend the duration of the impacts on folks. So appreciate the consideration.
Yeah.
I also think that the location is different than the other affordable housings that we had, which built onto Long Pond Road, not Long Pond Road, but over onto another road where there was a lot of traffic on a Saturday. And that was one of the concerns. I don't see it here, but I just brought it up for discussion.
Yeah, I don't see it here either.
And just to be clear here, what we're saying is that exterior construction
Yeah.
it would, shall not commence on any day before 7 and must be done by 6. And then Saturdays, exterior construction is allowed between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Yeah.
But we are saying nothing on Sundays or any state or federal holidays.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that accommodates, even most GCs that, would be starting at, the crack of dawn, but like, as Vita said, most of them tend to wind down the day by 3. This gives them until 6.
And starting at 7 gets all the big trucks and everything in there before 7:45.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is 7:45. I can't get to the closing date, but it starts at 7:45.
It's 2 something, 2:30.
Yeah, it's 2 something.
Okay. All right. So does anybody want to change anything, or are we okay with number 3?
Yeah.
Should we discuss the final sentence? Deliveries shall not commence before 5:30 a.m. Is there anything anybody wants to discuss about that?
No.
I think that's reasonable, John, because especially in the summer, most tourists are not on the road at that hour of the morning, and it allows the contractors a chance to bring in their deliveries and everything else. If we make it later, it's really going to be disruptive for a lot of folks, not just the contractors, but a lot of our visitors too.
Yeah, we better get those trucks in and out of there before.
Absolutely.
I was
Before the
thinking more in
beach
terms of
traffic
waking
begins.
people up, but
They can go for a good walk.
Well, that's where the advantage of having a water tower in a school, as many of your neighbors, is a help. You're not waking quite as many people up.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Okay, how about paragraphs 4 and 5? Anything?
I don't know, through you, Sharon, if I may, I don't know if we've
Yeah.
gotten to this yet, but I remember with the last few ones, we had a discussion about music in terms of loud music from different subcontractors on the site.
Yeah.
We did have a specific mention in the findings on the last one that no loud music was to be played on the Saturday
On the site.
that all the only music allowed was the sound of a truck backing up or something. But I know that was a concern of the abutters, and we did put it in the findings in the last one.
Do you want me to just add that to paragraph 3?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
would
that'd be a good place. Yeah.
slide it in there, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And are we just saying no loud music shall be played on the site, period?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, especially.
I think that's reasonable. Everybody's got earbuds anyway.
And they're all, once it's interior, but we did have a situation in Orleans where a woman had to go to court to stop the contractors from having their radios outside while they were doing the exterior work. Her life
Okay.
was unmanageable,
Yeah.
so we want to avoid any of that. So no loud radios outside would
Yeah.
be fine by me.
Define loud.
That's a great question. It's an open-ended question, Al, and it's loudest when it wakes you up and it's driving you nuts, and somebody calls the police. That's when it's loud. So I know what we did on the last one.
We know it when we hear it, right?
Exactly.
Like
But if I remember
pornography, you know it
correctly,
when you.
yeah, on the last one we did actually have it on our findings that there was no loud music to be
No
played.
loud music. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
basically, it was banning out exterior sound systems, radios. This was before people wore earbuds. I have to admit.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't really need
Okay.
to. Mhm. Okay. All right.
So I think, paragraphs
Erosion
4,
control,
5.
equipment, tree stumps.
Paragraph 6, fire protection. 7, the
Mm.
staging areas, including, portable toilets.
On the property.
And we require that all of that to be removed from the site 30 days following certificate of occupancy.
Mhm. Right.
Say the final certificate of occupancy. Okay. Paragraph 8, if they stop construction for any length of time, 30 days, they need to let us know 48 hours before they start up again. Let's hope they don't have any reason to stop for 30 days. Paragraph 9 is about stabilizing any, slopes and seeding. Paragraph 10, the stormwater pollution prevention plan. And paragraph 11, the applicant paying all reasonable fees imposed for any inspections and monitoring the compliance with the project. Again, I don't know whether we use anyone on the outside or whether this is something that is done by the building inspector. If we expect that the building inspector is going to make all of these inspections, then there won't be any fees imposed.
Correct.
Okay. Paragraph 12, submitting the plans to the fire department for compliance with the fire code and emergency access. And then that brings us on then to paragraph E for infrastructure. Is there anything on paragraph 1, A, B, or C? Okay, moving on to paragraph 2 about utilities and water connections. And paragraph 3, all utilities will be underground. Paragraph F on stormwater management. Paragraph 1, obviously they have to comply with the plan. Paragraph 2, they have to submit an operations and maintenance plan and the pollution prevention plan. Paragraph 3 goes to snow storage. Paragraph 4 is really about submitting the stormwater pollution prevention plan prior to commencing any work on site and making sure that that's complied with. And paragraph 5 would be the stormwater O&M plan having to be submitted. And we know there is going to be a property management company and making sure that they are aware of this. It's incorporated into any agreement with the property manager. Moving on to paragraph G, the general conditions. Paragraph 1, no fertilizers, road salt, or other contaminants to be used. Paragraph 2, these are all of the activities on site that the applicant is going to be responsible for. I think we should just not say permanently, I think we should say for the duration of the ground lease. So the applicant will be responsible for plowing, sanding, snow removal, site maintenance, repair and maintenance of the ways and drainage, etc. Any questions on paragraphs 3 or 4? In paragraph 5 for lapse, this is still the 3 years. And we also say that construction shall be completed within 3 years of commencement of construction. I don't know whether the board wants to include that. Do you want to include a different time period? I think this was language that was put in from another applicant that we might wanted to have held their feet to the fire on. I don't know whether we feel that same need here. But at the same time, if the applicant runs into any issues, they can certainly always come back to us for an extension.
Right. Yeah, I think it should be just left the way it is.
Left as is, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
agree with that.
okay. Paragraph 6 obviously requires everything to be recorded and proof to be provided to the building inspector. Paragraph 7 speaks to the 70% set aside the local preference. Paragraph 8 just make sure that all of these units are occupied by income eligible tenants and that none of them shall be rented on a short-term basis. And that's also going to be reflected in the leases for each unit.
Now, should we define short-term basis?
We certainly could do that. We could also say no units may be rented as short-term rentals because that does have the definition in state law.
That's
Or-
all. We can look somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, or we could say, you know, all units must be rented on an annual, you know, year-round basis, annual
Yeah.
basis.
I think I would prefer the year round,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
know, on a yearly lease.
I do know that the terms for people who move into these apartments are very, very strict in terms of allowing people to stay over. They're only allowed a friend stay over for a weekend, and it's written into the leases. And if I remember correctly from the last one, it was very, very black and white and written in stone about the bylaws of anybody who lives on the property. So I think the housing authority, or whoever runs the apartment building, they were the ones that would enforce that and also had it in the lease, if I remember correctly.
okay.
Yes, and if I could just briefly, just to the extent that it's some additional comfort, our lease also has to be approved by the state as part of our financing, and there's a pretty rigorous process for that. And we, at this point, we obviously have a pretty standard lease that we've used throughout our portfolio of properties. So there'll be multiple safeguards there.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, Corey, I'm fine with leaving the wording the way it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, so Will, were you saying leave it as is?
Yeah,
Rather than,
yeah, from what I just heard, that makes sense, because obviously whoever manages the enterprise isn't going to want short-term rentals either, and now they can't have them. It'll be in a standard provision in the lease.
Correct.
Okay. So what do you want to leave here? Do you want to leave it as no units may be rented on a short-term basis and just leave it as
I'm
that?
fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. And then we just trust it to the judgment of
Right.
the people running it.
Right. Mhm. And the other safeguards that are in there.
And I believe they are very, very strict with upholding the bylaws that they have for people who rent.
Right. Okay.
okay.
Mhm.
All right, then we get to paragraph 9, which would have required surety again for completion of the accessway and driveway. And I believe we are going to remove that consistent with what we did up above.
I think so, yeah. Mhm. Okay.
And then that brings us to voting, folks.
Yes.
So,
All right.
So you can vote any way you choose to do this. You could vote on the waivers and then vote on the decision. You could vote on the waivers as a slate. You could go through them individually, whatever you prefer. Should just, if we scroll past the record of vote, Exhibit B does give you the specific waivers being granted, and maybe we should just take a moment to go through and make it clear that these are the waivers that are being requested relative to the dimensions of the parking spaces, being able to have a multifamily dwelling use in the R1 zoning district, building height. They're asking for 3 stories and 49 feet. The intensity of use, to the extent that it applied, this was that 390,000 square feet of area required, whereas only 261 square feet of area is actually being provided for the number of units here. A waiver from the development of significant impact review with the planning board, and a waiver with respect to the number of signs that they're allowed, and then also a waiver from the Cape Cod Commission's residential, 30 or more residential unit review.
And I think we pretty much went through these last time. So.
Yep.
So
we vote on them as a slate.
So we could,
you can vote on them as a slate. Yes.
All right. So we can do that one first. I need a motion to grant the waivers,
I'll make a motion to grant the waivers.
and I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor. Manny,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Trevor,
Aye.
and Sharon. Aye. Okay, so then we go back to accepting the findings.
You
I'll
can
make-
accept the findings. You could do it as a motion to approve, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft decision.
Okay. Let me do that one. I like that one. Seems shorter.
As amended this evening.
As amended this evening. Yes. So I
Mhm.
need a motion to approve the permit based on the findings as amended this evening.
I
Is
will
that
make
correct?
a motion
And
to.
and
approve-
conditions of approval, if I may
And the
just add
conditions
that.
of approval. Okay,
I
all
will-
right.
I will make that motion, Madam Chairperson.
Right. And I need a second.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, I think I got Trevor for that one. All in favor, Mick,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
And Sharon? Aye.
And then one last question slash motion. If I've set this up to just be signed by the chair, it could be signed by all of you if you'd prefer. But if it is just going to be signed by Sharon, I'd ask for a motion to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board.
I will make that motion.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Mick,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
And Sharon? Aye. All right, I will sign it.
Carolyn, I have a question.
Yes.
In section J, it was before, it was like somewhere maybe page 7-ish. It was before page 10. Can I just see what it looks like one last time? I know you just voted on this, but
It's page 5.
was it page
Yes,
5?
It's too late to have a change, but you can, oh
Oh,
wait,
okay.
that's G.
I just
I
wanted
gotta
to see
go
what it
to
looks
J.
like. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. The site design incorporating low impact development practices, that one?
Building visibility, I think something was it page 5?
Hmm.
I'm not finding a J unless you're talking about J way back up in the beginning.
In the beginning, yeah.
But we
Okay.
went to
Yeah.
F.
Yes, this one. Yep.
All
yep,
right.
yep, right.
All right,
J,
here we
J,
go.
J,
I,
yep.
the site design will incorporate natural low impact development. All runoff.
Yep, that's fine. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Thanks.
All right.
We appreciate all your
Alright.
time.
Okay.
So what's
This
next?
has been a
Madam
long one.
Chairperson?
Do I need to make it? We don't need to make any more motions, right, Carol?
No,
Can we
you
go
don't.
to
You
full
have-
screen?
What?
Can we get rid of the
Sharing screen?
what's ever written down?
Yes.
That's better.
There you go.
thank you.
Now you can see people again.
All right, through you, Madam Chairperson, if I may.
Yes, yes.
I want to take this moment, first of all, to thank everybody who's been involved in this process, but especially I want to recognize the chair for steering us through this very, very complex issue. And I really think it should be recognized. You did an absolutely phenomenal job. And having been through a few of these, they do bring on anxiety. This one did not. You did a phenomenal job. And I think the rest of the board will probably agree with me on that.
Well, thank you very much.
I
think
would.
This board has worked very, very hard. And as I said to the developers one time along the way, this board does its homework. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a good board.
You did a great job. I'm
Thank you very
thankful.
much. Thank you very much.
If I could, we greatly appreciate all the time, including having special meetings like this one devoted just to this project. We realize it's an extraordinary level of time to put in, and as was noted, it naturally brings on some anxiety, but we greatly appreciate the collaborative approach and how we structured the agendas and work through everything. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a very professional presentation. And we've appreciated the support of the town in this. The town has worked very hard on this. So this has been a long time in coming and it's a nice moment.
Really is.
Thanks. And if Elaine is here too, I just want to make a mention of how wonderfully supportive she has been as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's there. She's been watching over you all the time.
No, there she is.
Yep.
On the screen. Thanks, Elaine.
All right. So I think, so
So Madam
Carolyn,
Chair,
you will get
I
you will get all of
sure-
that to Chris and I will sign it.
I will get all of that to Chris and to you. Andrew, do you want to review it one last time before it gets recorded? I mean, there's not much we can do about it now that they voted, but if you wanted to see it one last time, I'm happy to send it your way.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at it, but as you said, it's, as voted, it's perfectly acceptable, but I'm happy to have one for my
Okay,
file. Thank you.
Okay, I'll copy you, but yeah, Chris and Sharon, hopefully you'll have this tomorrow. Maybe
Very
even
good.
later tonight, we'll see.
All right, we'll see.
Okay.
Okay, the night is not so young anymore, so. All
I
right,
know.
thank you, everyone. Board, I need you to stay for just a little bit because we need to vote on one thing. We're not voting on minutes, but we do have one little item to vote on, so.
Okay.
But everybody else.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Good night,
Thank
you all.
everyone.
Good
Thanks.
night. Good
Bye.
night. Yahoo. So what we're voting on is, you've all seen the little notice that Will wrote. Thank you, Will, on what our role is and what the secretary's role is relative to the applicants. I did run that by Chris's boss to see if she was okay with it, and she thought it was a fantastic idea. So I just need a motion to put that on the website to include it with the applicant
So moved.
instructions. So moved. I need a second.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. All in favor, Mick,
Aye.
Will,
aye.
Al.
Aye.
Trevor. Yanni
Aye.
and Jan.
Aye.
That's all, and me, aye. We don't meet again until the 13th of October. As
Right.
far as I know, we have the one case that has been continued from the seashore, the house that's on the seashore. Chris, do we have other cases that you know of?
There are 2 other hearings.
2 other hearings. Okay, so we will be having a site visit on the, whatever that is, on the 12th for the meeting on the 13th. And enjoy your rest.
Well done again, Sharon.
Nice job
Well
on this one.
Yeah,
This
you did
was
a great
not
job.
easy. This was a long haul, but I am glad to see it put to bed.
Over the finish line.
Yes,
Yay.
over the finish line now.
Yay, yay.
Now, fingers crossed that it all works out.
All right. Very
All
good.
right.
Don't
All right,
night,
so
everybody.
need a
Have a
motion
good
to
night.
adjourn.
We have
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
I moved it.
Okay, and Will
Second.
seconded it. All in favor?
Second it, yes,
Aye.
I said.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Night,
Aye,
everybody.
aye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Guess if you just stay on for a sec, we can stop the recording.
Yeah.
Mhm.